I just want something different, I just want something better.
So my name is Stefan Leijnen. I'm the director and founder of the Asimov Institute, which is a collaboration between AI researchers and designers and creatives, such like you. And we work together with the artists to provide machine learning tooling, which helps us understand the creative process. So we're not interested in building commercial tools, we're interested in understanding how a new product, a new single, a new dress design, how it comes about, and how the new technology that is currently under development in AI can provide a supporting tool to get to better results, to provide inspiration, or to provide a style selection, for instance. So, and we operate purely out of interest, out of curiosity into what creativity is. We want to understand it. Yeah. So I shared an office space with Maloof Meza, who is the visual artist for the posters and the single designs for Geck-o. We got in touch. We want to do a project with audio, particularly this type of style of music, which is very interesting from an AI perspective. And she got us into touch, and we started having discussions, and it took off from there. Yeah, so I think normally what would happen in any type of, let's say, software or AI environment is that developers would think about what they think a designer or a creative needs. Then they build a product, and then the product is sort of one size fits all. It should be used by everybody because that's from a commercial perspective most interesting. And what we decided to do is take a different approach and have a number of discussions about the creative process of Geck-o, of how music is produced, and how it comes about, and how iteratively you keep thinking about the same concept, the same idea, and then what tools do you need, or what tools do you use in each step of this process. And then we try to do a sort of an analysis, to try out different tools to see if any available tools would fit that need, but also dream about what other tools might be possible using AI, using machine learning, that would be personalized or adaptable towards Geck-o's needs. So this is I would say a very different approach than what you normally would find. But it's born out of curiosity, out of trying to understand how a single comes about. And how AI can improve that single, or can at least improve the process for the artist to get to such a result. So we had a number of interesting discussions, and in each of those discussions new ideas came about on tools that we could build, and we built some of those tools, and the tools were used to produce this single. So AI in general, what does it do? Machine learning, it's different from a normal computer program. In a normal computer program, you tell the computer what to do in order to get to a particular result that you sometimes already have in mind. But in this case, we don't know what the result will be. We don't have it in mind. The computer needs to learn what it needs to find and how it needs to find it. So that's why we use machine learning tools. And the basic essence of machine learning is that you don't know the answer that will come out. You just ask the computer, can you help me find an answer in a particular direction? So we had to give some directives to the computer. We had to say, this is the area where you should look, or this is what you should use as inspiration to produce something new, which then again we could use for our inspiration, or you could use, Geck-o could use it for inspiration to get to a new single. So what we basically did, one of the methods that we used is something like the Prisma app. So you know, in the Prisma app, you can import a picture, you can import a particular style, like an artist style, like a Van Gogh or Rembrandt, and then you apply this style to the picture. And we did a similar process, but then with audio, with music. So we took a particular style, we extracted the style from a number of audio samples that Geck-o provided, and then we took a different audio sample, and we put that style onto the audio sample. So basically produce something new out of a combination of two existing things. So we know this in visual arts. It's been like in the Prisma app. It's been used a couple of times. In the audio, it's much more difficult, but it's in a way also more exciting because there's so many different things that can come out, and it's so difficult to get something good out of it. But I think we managed to find something really interesting, to make an interesting sound that Geck-o also found interesting to use. And then, based on that, we sort of iteratively readapted the idea, and it felt like a sort of an interplay between the computer and the artist, so sort of going back and forth, trying to find some inspiration, and sometimes sticking to a style and then going towards a new search space of styles and trying to find out those. So it was like a game of ping pong between the computer and the artist. Yeah. The particular method that we used was something called style transfer, but then in this case music style transfer. So you transfer the style from one music to the next, and underneath it, so if you look into the engine, it was deep learning that is used. So neural networks, which is an algorithm, a machine learning algorithm, which is inspired by the human brain. So it learns, you could say in some ways, in the same way that we learn, our brains learn. It adapts to input data and then produces a different set of data. And the more data you show it, the more it can adapt to it. It can change itself in order to produce something that you're looking for, and sometimes to produce something that you didn't know you're looking for, something new. And that's, I think, where the inspiration comes from. So let's say from a technical perspective, it's easier to work with visual arts than with audio. That's because if you look at a picture, it's spatially organized. So it's like things are close together, and if they're close together, they might have the same color. So there's some sort of spatial logic in pictures. With music, it's much more complex. At least that's my interpretation. There's so many things going on at the same time, and you can't simply just map it out into a visual pattern, into space. And that's also because time plays a role in music. There's no such thing as music without time. While you can say there's an image that is outside of time, there's no such thing as music outside of time. And time is something very complex for computers to work with, because computers are discrete. They always want something now, and then they want something new, and then want something new, and so you can cut up time. You can't cut up time in music. So you have to find ways to work with that. You have to find ways to make your algorithm work with continuous time. So that's something that makes it very difficult for machine learning and for AI to work with music. At the same time, there's so much interest, and there's so many AI researchers that have an interest in producing music, either as a tool or as an autonomous AI, that you see all these new interesting tools popping up, like the Bach bot. So that's like an AI that learns from Bach music and then produces something that sounds like Bach could have composed it, that you could recognize as a style of Bach. And this is the stuff that's already out there. So imagine what would happen in 10 or 20 or maybe even 50 years from now, what we could produce with similar techniques or with better techniques or with better hardware. So it's impossible to predict where we're going and how fast it will go, but I'm sure that if we look back 5 years from now, we would be amazed that this stuff would be coming in our direction and we wouldn't even see it coming. If you think about art in general, and this is also true for music, it's a way of communication. It's a communication typically between two humans. So there's the artist, and then there's the person who hears the art. So the art is always a medium between two people. And if you think about AI, or think about computers, they're typically also a medium. And the way we use them, we use them as a tool to produce something, or we use them as a tool to distribute music, for instance, or to listen to music. If you listen to an MP3 or you listen on YouTube, you listen to sounds or SoundCloud, then the computer is used as a tool. So the computer doesn't produce the music or think of the music, and it also doesn't interpret or listen to the music. It's just there. And there's always a human at the beginning and at the end. And one of the most interesting and most compelling questions in AI is, can we replace a human on either end of the communication spectrum with a computer? So either we start producing music for a computer, or a computer starts producing music for us, completely autonomously. And I think the question is linked. I think if you produce something for someone else, you're always also producing it for yourself. You're the first. Beetje een afwijking dit. Yesterday I listened to an interview by Ronald Giphart, who was writing a book in a hybrid collaboration with the computer. And he got a similar question. He was asked, are you afraid that computers are going to replace you? And he said, no, I'm not, because I am my first reader. I am the author, and I'm also the first person to read it. So I write for myself. So I think that would be the key question. Is a computer capable of creating something for itself? Is it capable of interpreting something for itself? And at this point, we don't even know what it means to have a computer that reads something and understands it, or that can appreciate music. What would it mean for a computer to appreciate good music or bad music? We don't know. We just know that we can use a computer to do a sort of a random sampling, produce something, and then ask a human, is this good or not? Or a human could say, if it sounds a little bit like this, then it's good or it's bad. But without a human, to do something, to produce something that there's no human in the loop whatsoever, and it's a computer that's composing music for itself that it can listen to, or for other computers to listen to, it's almost unimaginable. So there has to be, at least with the current state of technology, so there has to be a human in the loop somewhere. And I wouldn't be afraid if I were a DJ or a composer that I wouldn't have to be there 10 or 20 or even 50 years from now. For art, if we don't take the step towards art to fully appreciate all the effort and to use the attention that goes into the art, and also use the attention as a listener to a song, to take out what is put in there. So if we superficially listen to music, it's possible that a computer can get away with it, that it can just do a couple of tricks, and for the inattentive listener, you don't notice whether it's been produced by a computer or by an artist, because computers are very good imitators. So even though they don't have any motive, they don't have any creative force to produce a new song, they can imitate others. So if you don't spend enough time listening, or you don't have the attention to really go deeper into the song and think about what was the artist trying to communicate here, then it's possible that you'll be tricked or fooled by computers. So I think the question whether DJs or other creatives can be replaced by computers also will depend on a large part on the audience. Is the audience attentive enough to pick up the difference? That's I think the dividing difference between a normal computer program and an AI. In a normal computer program, we know all the steps, we can trace them back, and we know what comes out. That's like the typical idea of an algorithm. We can always trace back the result from the steps that it took. And in AI, we said that's not enough. We want to do more. We want to build something within a computer, so it's still an algorithm in the end, but it can be a black box. So sometimes, and I would actually say very often, we get an outcome, but we are unable to trace back where the outcome came from. So does that mean that we still have control over the AI or over the outcome? Yes and no. We don't want control. Let's start off with that. We want to be inspired. We want the algorithm to come up with something new. So if control is what you're looking for, just stick to a regular computer algorithm. But if the problem requires letting go of control and letting the algorithm explore different regions and coming back with whatever it finds, then that's fine. Because there's still a sort of second order control. We know what the algorithm is going to do. We know that it will find a solution that we haven't thought of, but that's okay, because that's what we want it to do. So I think the bigger question is, can we let go of that second order control and not knowing what it will come up with, will it surprise us in a way that we didn't want it to surprise us? Because that would be like a next step, that would be completely beyond our control. It would be doing something that we don't want it to do. It's possible. So that could be bugs, that could be things that we hadn't seen before, there could be things in data that it picks up. So Psytrance, last year there was a Microsoft chatbot that was intended to have nice conversations with people, but because it got it got fed some data which was not very nice, the chatbot turned out to be a horrible person, so to speak. It turned out to be a horrible conversationalist. So this was beyond the control of Microsoft, and in that sense, AI is capable of doing harm in a way, or at least doing something that the makers didn't intend it to do. So going in against the intentionality of the maker of the AI. So there, yes, it's possible. But at the same time, we should always remember that a computer doesn't want anything. There's no intentionality in a computer. It's just there, we built it. So by accident or by means of bad engineering, yes, it's possible that the computer will do something that we didn't intend, but we shouldn't make the error of attributing this human quality to computers and saying, oh, it just like us, it looks a little bit like us, it does things that we do, it can help produce music, it can help me find my way, it can drive a car, so it must be human, it must want something, it must be looking for power like we do. I don't think that's the case. It's just a tool, it's a complex calculator. But it can be used for purposes for other people who want power or who want control. And that's, I think, something we should be more wary about, whether the computer as we use it, or the AI as we use it, is used as a tool by other people who do want something. So I think that's more, we should be more alarmed about those scenarios than about let's say the Terminator scenario that wants to destroy us. I think that's a very good subject for movies, but not so much for a dystopia that we should be worried about right now.
It's a nice subject to make music about, though.
It is. Well, yeah. Dystopias in general, I guess, is it's something that draws our attention, and we want to think about it, because the more we think about it, the more control we think we have about those things. So that's why it demands our attention. But I mean, there's plenty of dystopias left that are also useful to think about. So, yeah.
I just want something different. I just want something